I don't quite get how that's a compliment for me.
You make me want to be a better man.
Good evening, Americans, and good evening to the world. Thought I'd bring up a subject about compliments. I just posted this section from the movie As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. Probably the best example of a compliment that one can see in a movie. The curious thing about this, and this is one of the weird things about compliments, is that oftentimes a compliment sometimes doesn't quite sound like one. Not until you get the context of what that compliment actually is. And I figure I'm going to go through some examples, what I would consider 3 of the best compliments I've ever been given. Okay? Number 1 was actually from a lawyer. A lawyer gave this compliment when he told somebody else about me. Now consider this is a lawyer, okay? He said about me, he's not a dick. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but when you consider who lawyers deal with, that's a pretty gosh darn strong compliment. Probably because all this guy is ever used to dealing with are dicks. Okay? Second one I got, back from my Army days. Staff Sergeant Callahan, or as I call him, Dirty fucking Harry. I was a first lieutenant. And he asked me, almost with a smile, but in a sense confrontationally, he asked me, how long were you an NCO? Doesn't sound like much of a compliment until you understand what it was he was getting at. I was not an NCO, I was not prior service. But I guess I was an officer who actually stood out to him as somebody who understands the different responsibilities between an officer and an NCO, and let the NCOs take care of NCO business while I took care of officer business, which in my mind was taking care of the NCOs, taking care of the troops, and drawing fire from higher. And now I'm going to go to the other one, and this is the weird one. And this was the compliment I got from my wife. She wasn't even my wife yet, but this was my wife. When we were recording, she told me that she was attracted to my lack of superficial charm. Obviously, anybody who's watching any of these videos can take a look at me and say, this is not a charming individual. This is not somebody who you look at and just say, wow, what a charming guy, what an interesting guy, what a great guy. No, he's fairly upfront, fairly straightforward about things. But she's a psychiatrist. She wrote a book about abuse, psychopathy. She's been around. She was raised by a psychopath, abusive stepfather. She has been around those people that put her at ease and then launched themselves at it. They were charming. They made her feel comfortable. They made her feel at ease around them. She's worked in prisons. And when I thought about it and understood what it was that she was saying, she's not saying that I'm not charming. She's not saying that I'm not interesting. She said that the charm I have is not superficial, which is a fundamental characteristic of a psychopath. Kind of interesting to look at it and say that that's the best compliment that I have ever been given. Maybe it's the best compliment I've ever been given because it's from the best person I've ever known. I don't know. Anybody out there got some compliments? Let me know what the best one you ever got was.